You gotta get your finger like halfway in your asshole and wash it clean. And I'm like,
Cleans with their finger.
and I was like, so you wash these? She's like,
We can always just start just by talking about toilet paper. I think that's important. So, well, and here's the weird thing, Bob. I mean, toilet paper is obviously the hottest commodity again because, as both you and I know, well, I mean, you can just get up and leave.
I hear you.
Fucking asshole. No, but what I was saying is it's interesting because I don't really think there's much difference in a lot of toilet paper out there. So last week, as I noticed people hoarding and starting to panic buy the toilet paper, they were completely out of it at Costco. And I got, a pretty cheap, no name kind of 6-pack, so to speak, right? Yeah, a 6-pack of toilet paper over at the Smiths, whatever you want to call it. It's called something else up here. But I was like, yeah, there's nothing different about this toilet paper, whatever. I put the roll on the toilet paper thing, and I noticed that the reason why it's cheaper is literally the width of this toilet paper is half the width of like Charmin or the Kirtland stuff. Like you couldn't even like pull out some plies and wipe your ass with it without getting like a good like wrap around the hand going because it was so like thin. It was almost like the width of fruit by the foot. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, I'm exaggerating a little bit.
Your hand looks like a fucking mummy, so you can wipe your ass.
And literally, it's like I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" But literally, like one of those rolls lasted for like 2 days because of that. And I was like, "Well, this is such a waste here. I need to go back to high quality Charmin Ultra." There's something about that bear just fucking rubbing his ass on shit that makes me know the quality is there. I was really disappointed.
My hiney's clean, just like Cardi B's. And on that note, welcome to the Stiff Truth, everyone. I am Bob West. I am here with the best, the only Scott Casanova. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Well played, sir. That's all I got to say about that. Well played. I'm doing great, Bob. And I'll tell you what, though, God, man, I'm just going to get right into it here again, just talking about toilet paper and everything. But it's no mystery out there, Bub. No mystery out there that there's been a rise in COVID cases across the map, which, honestly, Bob, I don't know why people wouldn't like already know that's coming since we're always like a few weeks behind what's going on in Europe. And, 3-4 weeks ago, everybody starts shutting shit down and there's all kinds of blasts of case there, but whatever.
It's because of all the Democratic governors in Europe.
Obviously we've shipped them over there to fuck shit up. It's a direct result of what we've done here. But no,
fascist.
It is interesting, and it does kind of suck because one, my daughter's school went back to 100% remote learning. That was trash. But then the other thing that we've seen here is, yes, there's a rise in cases, and literally it's like we have groupthink amnesia of what we did about 8-9 months ago when everybody got hysteric, and we're literally just going right back into this little nasty loop. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. For instance, Costco yesterday, I literally had to wait in a line outside, and I haven't had to do that since I believe April. You know what I mean? And already a sign up there, we're out of toilet paper, we're out of paper towels, we're out of Lysol, we're out of
no water.
Yeah, you got all this shit. Oh, but hey, guys, don't worry. We got fucking 5,000 cases of baked beans. If you really are going to like start freaking out, like nobody's buying that yet, but you think you might want to get some canned goods if you're really apocalyptic stuff. But this is all off the basis and the fear that some areas are kind of tightening back up. I guess we'll call it lockdowns, but it's not really lockdowns. It's more of just like, hey, things are getting a little out of control. Let's pump the fucking brakes. It's not business as usual anymore. We're going in the wrong direction. We're going to dial things back. And that's got people really concerned. I mean, your governor said, 2 weeks from the 16th to the 30th is what they're planning. Now, who knows? That's probably going to be extended. But
she said she's gone back to the essential, non-essential and asking that if you can work from home. Basically, that's directing the businesses, right? If you can have people work from home, have them work from home. Let's get everyone off the streets, out of the stores as much as possible. And again, you're right. It's not a lockdown. If it were a lockdown, we'd see fucking National Guard on every corner asking why the fuck you're out, right? And then I have never been pulled over and asked why I'm driving around. So I've never gone through a lockdown yet. So the the jump to that by some of the folks that I hear out there and the noise that I hear on social media and some of the news networks and the fear mongering that goes on is a little bit ridiculous. It does suck with the school thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the timing of it all, with winter break coming up, maybe they're trying to minimize the time out and try to
Mhm.
hit it at the end of the semester. So maybe by the end there'll be a vaccine out and things will start getting better in a couple of months. Hopefully, because that sucks. It's tough on the kids.
Yeah.
Even my son had a conversation with us about how it's hard. It's hard not hanging out with my friends. It's hard not interacting with people. It's hard being home all the time by yourself, and it fucking is. And it's hard. It's hard for all of us. But you and I, we can suck it up. We're adults. We're hardened by the rigors of life, right? The children haven't had to get fucked over by life yet, so they're still optimistic. so
God bless them.
it's more rough on the kids to have to deal with that. So it's rough on everyone, and it does suck. Um, we pretty much canceled Thanksgiving. We're
Mhm,
gonna
mhm.
we order all of our shit online. In fact, Jess is gonna go pick it up here in a few. Um, we're getting ready for that. We're exploring our options with, Zoom or Facebook, video chat or whatever the fuck that's called,
Where were you
with
gonna
the
go?
family.
Were you planning on going somewhere?
Yeah, well, we wanted to go up north and go to Farmington and hang out
Sure,
with fam, and
sure.
it's just one of those things. I haven't seen my parents getting close to 2 years now
Yeah,
because normally we go on spring break, but last spring break COVID had just started,
I remember
right?
that.
So
You said you had to cancel your trip just to be safe. Yeah, I remember that.
right. So we haven't seen my parents down in Texas since 2019 in March. So I mean that March is coming right back around on 2 years. So I want to go see them, but not during COVID. I mean they're not exactly young anymore. They're pushing 70. So definitely don't want to go down to Texas and kill them. So
Hey,
we're trying to avoid that.
I've always said you're a model son right there because you just exemplify it
I
right there.
can't come see you because I might kill you.
Well, Bob, I guess I should thank you for that. That's an interesting one. Well, and you're right though. And what's really actually silver lining to this, because in New Mexico, you go back to essential, non-essential, at least the Cardi B ass washing store is still going to be open around the clock. You know what I mean? That's essential as it comes. And we talked about it here. Talk about somebody that's super dialed in with just being prepared for anal sex all the time. And that's essential too. So that's not getting shut down. So silver lining there. Anybody that wants to get their asshole washed by Cardi B's finger, you can still do that in New Mexico. I don't know what she's doing there, but I just wanted to mention that. And the other thing that you said too that I wanted to kind of just bring back to the forefront for a minute is you said you canceled Thanksgiving. Are you really part of that culture now? You're canceling Thanksgiving? Is it because the first one didn't go that well?
Yeah, it was marginalizing a potential group of people. So I said I took it back. I found out that Thanksgiving had marginalized people back in like eighth grade,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and I put them on blast, and I put Thanksgiving out there, and now Thanksgiving's canceled in my house.
Oh man. You run a tight ship around there, Bob. And that's something I love about you, man. But yeah, no, it's crazy, dude. It literally with just it could I don't know if I could be any more frustrated with just and again, I know we can deal with it. We're adults and everything, but can I just say that COVID's getting pretty fucking boring and old? I mean, just hearing about it all the time. And now again, on this roller coaster back on the peak now of people freaking out and cases happening more and more often. I'm over it, man. I mean, I don't know what I got to do with Pfizer here. I mean, let's just push out the vaccine right now.
Right?
Let's just
Whose
cross our
dick do we got
fingers.
to suck to get this vaccine out there? I mean,
Apparently the CEO of Pfizer. Do you know literally this is how crazy things are, man. From like a never drop the ball on trying to make money. Soon as Pfizer announced, right, that they had this 90% effective vaccine, immediately homeboy, the CEO, I can't remember his name. He's foreign. I think he's French or something like that. But he sells 60% of his stock in Pfizer as they peak like, their peak level or whatever before they drop down again right after the announcement. It's like, guys like trying to manage the most important vaccine probably in modern times, and he's still mindful enough to pump the brakes for a minute throughout all this to make sure he lines his pocketbook a little bit more.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
can increase my wealth by 23% if I sell right now. That sounds good. Let's focus on that.
But hey, that is some exciting news. I've seen people on I want to say mostly on the right too, like, kind of saying not to get too excited about Pfizer's announcement because, they're not going to have the capacity to distribute these doses, and it's a 2-dose vaccine and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, dude, get the shit out of my cereal, homies, and at least be happy that we're not literally back in March of last year where this wasn't even on the goddamn horizon. You know what I mean? I'm like this, man. People are freaking out. If this was a race, we've already completed 3/4 of the marathon. You know what I mean? Why throw up your hands and start bitching like a little queer right now, and let's get it done. Not that there's anything wrong with being queer, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, why would you single out queers for the bitching? There's plenty of bitching to go around, Scott.
Oh yeah, well, and let's reword that. Bunch of pussies out there right now that are bitching and throwing their hands up. This is not fair. This has been going on too long. Look, I get it. I just said that I'm sick of it, but we can see the finish line, and there's a big fat needle at the end with Pfizer's name on it. And like I said before, though, I'm not rushing to take that shit first, though. After our vaccine episode, don't get me wrong. I believe vaccines are very good, but this Operation Warp Speed and Trump kind of at the helm there, I'm a little cautious, bro. I might wait for round 2 or round 3.
What if it like mutated your eyes so that you could see like an eagle and shit? And then like by the time round 2 or 3 came out, they fixed that.
Oh,
I'm gonna be over here like being able to scope a mouse out from like a mile away.
What if it gave everybody like Spider-Man's powers and shit like that? That'd be pretty cool, I mean, or I guess there could be a lot of side effects that I haven't thought about that could be advantageous to my life in a whole. I mean, having eagle eyes, I never thought would probably be a really cool thing. Now, if I looked like an eagle, though, because their eyes look kind of weird and they like move independently of each other sometimes, that's a little strange. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, you get like the what's that lizard? It's not the gecko. What's the iguana? Iguana. Yeah. You get the iguana eyes. What are you doing? Well, I'm staring at you, but I'm also staring at that mouse a mile away.
It gives a whole new spin on the term side-eyeing somebody right there, buddy. You know what I mean?
I can side-eye 2 people at the same time. That's right. So yeah, the good news is first off, the 90% effectiveness is really good.
News. That's
really good.
News.
Didn't
Fauci say like 50-60% at this time frame would be amazing or something like that? That's all I can remember. Like we're not supposed to be where we're at right now.
Yeah, 90% is really good. I mean, if you look at your flu shot, I think that's only like 50-60% or something, right? It just like lowers your chances of getting the flu. And when you get the flu shot, you're actually getting like dead flu virus.
There you go. You can do it.
Anyway, you're getting the dead flu virus injected into you so you can build antibodies. That's not how this vaccine works at all. So this vaccine has never been released in the public before. It's messenger RNA, right? So this is like it's like DNA, but it's the RNA side. So it's actually sending out signals for you to make these proteins that goes and will latch on to coronavirus if you do get it and prevent you from getting it. So that's pretty hardcore. That's something that's never been done through known history, right? So I don't know, maybe there was an advanced civilization back in India in the day. Giorgio Tsoukalos says there was. Maybe they had cooler virus prevention methods.
You know what? That's funny that you mentioned that. There's definitely some civilizations that have been lost that have been claimed to have been extremely advanced for the time period, and who knows what could have happened there. That's interesting stuff, man. I don't know, man. I guess we'll find out. Here's the other thing that I mean, again, with the vaccine, the other thing I thought was really interesting. Again, this is me kind of putting on that hat of tin that I like to have, foilish. Coronavirus, we've talked about this numerous times. It's almost common knowledge now. The coronavirus is, the basically a form of the common cold, right?
Yeah, it's a flavor of it.
Now, here's the really interesting part. They have never, even though we have fabulous ways of treating it opposed to hundreds of years ago, they have never come up with a cure for the common cold. it's just been very, very hard to do. It's never happened. So to me, that they're coming up and they're 90% effective with basically curing a version of the common cold that's obviously more intense and more contagious, and we can argue more deadly, right? For sure. Even though I'd have to say, even people with pre-existing conditions that are dying from COVID would probably die if they got the common cold. But to be able to do that right now, and it's never been done before, that's got me scratching my head a little bit, bud. You know what I mean? Makes me a little nervous.
Could we have just inadvertently fixed the common cold? Because that'd be pretty awesome.
That would be great if you think about it. If there wasn't a lot of people sniffling and sneezing and coughing a lot of time, you could really pick out the cokeheads a lot easier moving forward. And I think that's a PSA right there.
Sorry, DJ Junior, DT Junior. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. I mean, it's what is it? SARS-CoV-2 or CoV-SARS-2? I think it's CoV-SARS-2, right? It's like the actual name of this virus.
Something really adorable.
So if they could do that with this messenger RNA, again, maybe there's hope for just later on with the general flu shot, and also with the colds, and who knows what else. So this coronavirus that came along and fucked everything up might actually end up greatly benefiting humanity over the next couple of decades, but we'll see. I hope so, because then the people that have all died and lost loved ones would have that stamp of, well,
at least it wasn't in vain. Yeah.
Look at what it's done for all of us. So they might have that instead of just, well, my freedom, so my grandma died.
Yeah, this is very true.
There's always that.
That's how they sum it up too. I mean, hey, speaking of freedom too, we got to touch on the election a little bit here. It seems like it's been years ago to us, right? But they're still chatting about it all the time. You had just informed me too, which I did not know. It looks like old Trumpy baby president. Can we say president on his way out, Trumpy baby? It looks like he may be kind of coming to reality a little bit here. And I know they're going to be recounting a lot of stuff here, but I don't know when it's like, what is it now? Is it close to like 6-7 million votes that Biden has over him now or something like that? I mean, is it time?
I think it was like at 5.2 million a day or two ago.
Well, that was a day or two ago.
Right. Well, right. Biden's up to 78 million at this point. So I think it's turning like close to 6 million at this point,
and he's got over 300 electoral college votes right now, right?
Yeah, 306. It's the same that Trump had when he beat Hillary.
Interesting.
Which was like, the greatest victory of all time. But now it's fraud.
Honestly, I've been watching, I'm sure you've seen this too. They've been doing little montages on the news, but when they compare people talking about election integrity and recounts and votes, it's so funny. I mean, it's obviously not, I guess, surprising, but it's ironic that you go back to 2000 for Gore and Bush, and you have the same narrative and same rhetoric coming from Democrats in 2000 that the right has right now, and vice versa. It's very, very, it's like, it only depends on whose team is losing or winning, because they both have the narratives right in their fucking back pocket, ready to rock and roll with this. We need to recount it, integrity election. And then you go back to and then you finally admitting defeat. Even those speeches are like the exact same partisan wise. They just flip flopped from 2000 to 2020. It's very interesting how that happens. But
and it is weird too, because people forget the recency bias that is in some of the pinheads in America. So Hillary at this point, she was pulling a Donald Trump, right? She was asking for a recount in Wisconsin, even though she had lost by like 20,000 votes or 10,000 votes or something way outside of the difference a recount would make. Now, when you go back to 2000, that was 500 votes in a state that has like 35 million people. Okay, the recount's within reason, right? They should have a recount. In fact, it should automatically be triggered. Why the hell would it not be recounted if it's that close? So you should make sure. But when you're talking 10 or 20,000 votes, what the fuck are you doing, right? This isn't recount. And in Florida, everyone was done. And they were, whoever wins Florida gets the edge. Neither one had 270. It was They're both just under. So whoever got Florida won the presidency, and it was 500 votes. Very, very different. And even then, it was handled in the courts, and it was handled in this and that, but it wasn't handled in the court of public opinion like it has been in the last 4 years, right? So when Hillary, and you're right, the Democrats, oh, there's a problem with the election, right? And then even still, that's like it's 10 times worse even now, because it kind of started there, and now it's snowballed into, well, now the election's not even real. I mean, well, we need to slow the fuck down with that, because that's like what tears the countries apart.
Well, and that's the thing. I think we talked about it on our last show, but do all the goddamn recounts you want. In fact, do two on every state, because what we're facing right now is we're facing we're facing American people in general. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat or independent, doesn't really matter, with what's been going on the past two elections. And if you even go back to all the way to 2000, which is really interesting to me, just as a sidebar, 2004, 2008, 2012, nobody fucking complained about, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was too much of a victory for one person or the other, right? So no complaints, but all of a sudden here we are back to having a tight race, and the integrity of our election, how we elect people, and our democracy is it's flawed right now, right? And people don't trust it. It seems to have a lot of holes, and there seems to be, no matter what way you're looking at it, mail in person, you can argue from either end of the table that there's as much room for sabotage, anywhere. So we have this system now, which you kind of just reminded me of what you were saying. It's very broken, in the sense that nobody believes in what we're doing, and nobody believes in the outcome. So it's almost like, why the fuck have an election if we know this is going to happen? So that's why I say, again, recount everything, everything. In fact, let fucking Joe the plumber get in there and start counting ballots if he wants to, right? So people get that validity, and just understand that, okay, no, this was legit. This is how it went down. My guy didn't win. My team's not in charge anymore, or my team's in charge now. I can feel just comforting. It's just comforting to know that, hey, this is the way it should be, and have a little bit of belief in what's going on here in America. But we don't have that right now. We don't have it. So it's funny, because I just don't understand. That's why one of the things I said a couple of weeks ago is, it's not going to end well, meaning this, you know what I mean? No matter what the outcome is, people are going to call bullshit on it. And it's like, well, can you blame them? You know what I mean? We've had rumblings of interference with Russia, with Iran, with China, and it's been over and over again. It's been repeating now for, over 4 years. So why would you really believe and trust in our electoral process? You really don't have a lot of evidence to do so.
Yeah, see, I would say, because I'm Bobby Sunshine of Rainbows,
That's true.
I would say that every state takes a lot of pride in their election process, in the flawed system that they have, right, to make it as best
Sure.
they have. So if it does come down to an investigation, that states, Secretary of State or Attorney General, whoever's in charge of their elections, can be like, nope, it's all legit, coming out of this, everything was recorded and all that. So I would say with what we have, it's good. Now, I think going back is, it needs to be on cell phones, right? I need to be able to like push vote, and then see the number on the counter tick up by one. And then I'd feel so much better, right? I mean, I think everyone would. We don't have to wait for days. It's within milliseconds that your vote gets counted and done.
Talk about validation that your vote counts if you can see it on a fucking ticker, like a national ticker. You're like,
Right.
That's me. Look, I'm voting twice. Look, I'm voting 3 times. Check it out. Oh, wait. That's one of the reasons why everybody doesn't trust what's going on right now, right? So, whoops. But yeah, no, that would be amazing, bro. We did talk about it. I think we might even campaign on that when one of us goes for president in 2024 or 2028. Is like, hey, election done by app on phone. Must happen.
President of the Elks Lodge. I'm going to buy a middle shelf liquor. No more well. No more well.
Free well for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't know. Overall, I think that the votes are the votes. It's always a bummer when the person you voted for doesn't win. It just happens. As far as like picks go, if you're a conservative, especially if you're not like a far right extremist kind of conservative, and you're like most conservatives,
Ben Shapiro.
if you're going to, oh yeah, he's like right there on the center. Um, so
He's
unbiased.
he's my moral compass. Just
Oh
him.
yeah,
I
yeah.
fucking I gave Jiminy Cricket the fucking boot. Shapiro, you're in. Come on.
So if you have to lose to someone, a guy like Joe Biden, it's probably the best way to lose. I would compare him to Republicans more as someone like H.W. Bush was to Democrats.
Mm.
He's someone that he won't agree with you on probably just over the majority of the stuff that you want, but he will get up there and meet you halfway on a lot of things that you're looking for. And I think Biden will actually try to do that. I don't think he's there's a lot of shit going on in the media and social media about, well, AOC doesn't have fuck to do with anything. AOC is a Brooklyn fucking leftist subsect of people that live in New York, and that's who she represents, and she represents their values and how they elect her. Cool. Their values aren't shared with the mass majority of the country. They're just not. Joe Biden's not a very progressive guy. I mean, he's not Bernie, and I keep hearing AOC and Bernie lumped into him, but he ran literally against all the shit that they were trying to promote, right? He ran against Medicare for all or Medicaid for all or whatever the fuck it is, right? Because he wants, to improve on the normal Obamacare thing. He doesn't want Medicare for all. He wants people to have a choice of their insurance because it's fucking America, right? And he campaigned on that and he won on that. By a pretty good majority. It wasn't very close. And now
See,
people are like, well, socialist medicine's coming. From where?
well,
Bernie got beat in the primary.
that's true, and we all know when it's that far out there. Meaning he's just putting it all out there. Bernie was self-proclaimed democratic socialist. No reason to sweep that under the rug or hide it, right? And some people love that because, again, there's always a faction of people that are like, we need to hit the restart button. This is not working. Meaning capitalism, the way we have it right now, the American experiment is not working. We need to do yeah. So that's great, but as we've talked about before, when that becomes more and more of a perceived possible reality, it scares the shit out of Americans on the whole, on both sides of the aisle. Doesn't matter, right? I think both Republicans and Democrats, and you would agree too, are heavy capitalist, heavy capitalist just in general.
You saw it in the votes. You saw it in the votes down the ballot. You saw that come out. You saw it in the primary from Democrats. You saw it come out. I mean, the primary should have been a signal to everyone what was coming in the election, right? Look, this moderate Democrat won pretty handily over all these progressive ideologies. Sure. And then here in the general election, if you think that the Republicans are going to be more progressive than the Democrats were in the election, right? So I think the elections really did kind of tell the story that was being written in the Democratic primaries.
Well, and here's the other thing that I guess I understand the concern is you're absolutely right that Joe, from history, especially in his political history, what he's done, not extremely progressive in the sense that people are fearful of like the AOC Bernies. Even the Kamala Harris is supposed to be more progressive even than Bernie with how she's voted. So there is that. I will say this though. He does seem to surround himself with this element of the left a decent amount. Now, maybe it's because they're the most enthusiastic about getting in there and trying to help him with certain things. That's totally acceptable. But we go back to the perceived fear from especially the right and from moderate Democrats like yourself is what happens 6 months from now, Joe has a fucking stroke or something like that. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he is not fit to be in office. Kamala bumps up. Nancy Pelosi is now vice president or something.
It wouldn't be Nancy.
You know what I mean? I'm a what if scenario here. Then all of a sudden, and let's say these two runoff, and I don't see it happening, but let's say these two runoff Senate races in Georgia both go Dem. Then we do have the real understanding that, okay, this can happen now. We can start now passing floods and floods of hardcore progressive legislation with almost no pushback because they own the House, the Senate, and they have somebody that's even more liberal, allegedly, than Bernie that would be at the helm of the country. So there is the possibility that this could happen. I mean, the dude is going to be 78 years old, like tomorrow or the next day, or I think his birthday is actually this Friday coming up, meaning old Joe Biden, 78 years old. So we'll see.
Let me quell your fears. right? There's been a lot of talk about packing the courts. There's been a lot of talk about getting rid of the general filibuster, the 60 votes needed to pass a law, right? Which is still current. So if the Democrats, even got a 50-50 with Kamala as a tiebreaker, then all this progressive agendas would start happening. First of all, I don't think that's Joe Biden's bag. But secondly, there are
No,
two
his bag is
senators
really, really gray and saggy. So, I would
and,
have to imagine.
of the colostomy fucking variety, the colostomy. So there's two senators that wouldn't vote for it. In fact, Joe Manchin's already said that he wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
So that's the Democratic senator from West Virginia. Very, I don't even know. He's basically Republican with a D in his name, but
Yeah,
he
how
said
did he get there? That's like he's like a Democratic senator from West Virginia. That kind of sounds like jumbo shrimp. It sounds like an oxymoron. So
well, it's
weird.
because he believes in like democratic economic stuff, but he doesn't
Mhm.
believe in a lot of the other democratic stuff, right? So he
Mm.
represents his constituents, and they keep voting him in, and they love the guy. But he's already said that he'd vote against the filibuster.
Mm.
So there you go. That's 49. Just him alone, and that's done, right? And then on the other
Mhm.
side, what's her name? McSally? It's no Cinema from Arizona,
Mm.
very conservative Democrat that took over for Jeff Flake when he left, right? Also, I don't think she'd vote for it either. So there's two conservative Democrats that I think would stop any of that progressive nonsense. So you won't see the courts get packed. You just won't. They won't vote for it. You won't see the filibuster leave because they don't have the votes. At least not in the next couple of years as votes turn out and things change. Maybe sometime in the future that's still on the table, but for right now, it's just not going to happen.
Well, and don't get me wrong, Bob. I'm not literally myself and personally concerned about this actually playing out to the extreme that some people are kind of worried about. Now, and that's just where I'm saying is this is where their minds are going. There are the chess pieces, so to speak, to make it feasible technically, right? If especially if Biden is pushed out and deemed not worthy, incapable of being able to run the
If he has
country.
like some sort of stroke and he's like
Yeah.
Legends of the Fall, Anthony Hopkins with his chalkboard.
Yes, exactly. If he literally is drooling on himself and like not able to form words, they're gonna go ahead and scoot him to the side. I mean, and
Everyone's
also,
waiting for like 10 minutes on him and he just holds it up and it says sandwich.
oh, that's great. That's great. But no, again, yeah, and this is in all seriousness. Again, getting back to because we kind of we joked about it being like this being the best outcome in the sense of we've got a clean slate at the helm for the perception and image of America. Let's just face it. I'm not going to say Trump did not do a good job in a variety of things. He actually did do a good job in a variety of different things. On a whole, as an image to the rest of the world and how we projected ourselves to the rest of the world leaders, not so good. That's where I could say he was a little bit of a fail. And a lot of people love him for his abrasive, not being a politician, no filter kind of shit. That's not how it works on the world stage when it comes to political leaders. And we both know that, right? So
Right.
clean slate that shit right away. Get Biden in there. People know Biden. You probably saw there was congratulations from so many different world leaders when they finally announced that he was president elect, just because like probably a lot of them were like, okay, thank God now America is going to be back in it with what we're all working for on a global level that let's just say Trump kind of separated us, you know what I mean, kind of polarized us away from a lot of that. So there's that. But then I was also pleased with the conservatives keeping the majority in the Senate. Now, that's a big question mark right now. So it really does make these two runoff races in Georgia extremely important. And you mentioned something that's definitely going to be true. It's already, I can already see it, but there's going to be so much money, and there already is so much money in campaigning that's going to be flooded into that state.
Over $1 billion. Like
Yeah.
start up an advertising firm in
Yeah.
Georgia right now.
Yeah.
You'll
Seriously.
bank it.
Oh, dude. So, and that's not until the 15th, I believe, right, of January. So this is going to be a
Yeah.
little bit, it's going to be a little bit in limbo, a little bit nerve-wracking for people on both sides of the aisle. And then people like me, I'm just kind of standing back hoping for not too much aggressive hold of power on again on both sides of the partisan aisle. We're already here that it doesn't look like there's any way that they're going to overturn the election for Trump and he's going to win. But I am a little bit nervous about the Dems taking complete control of the both bodies of Congress, if you ask me. So interesting to see how it plays out.
I have a question, and I looked at it and I didn't immediately find an answer, and then my attention span got me, and I probably just gave up or studied for a test or something stupid. But who gets the Senate Majority Leader on a 50-50 Senate split?
I don't know. Would it be? I have no idea, dude. That is something I don't know.
Do they flip a coin? Do they just have two co-leaders? Like how does that shit work?
Do they hold hands too? Why they talk? That'd be interesting.
They're just like, so I just want you to know I need your help on this deal.
Who's homeboy? Who's the House Minority Leader? Kevin McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy.
Sounds right. Yeah.
I like that guy. I actually like that guy. I heard him talk yesterday with a couple of the new Senate elects that are both women that are GOP Senate elects, and they had a nice little conversation, and he seemed pretty happy. And I was like, you know what, this guy's rubbing me the right way right now.
I got my answer.
You did.
Under an evenly divided chamber, the party that holds the White House runs the Senate.
Well, that makes sense, right? So there's that. We'll see what happens.
I mean, someone's got to fill the seat because of the way the Constitution breaks down with like the tiers of power of if everyone starts dying, right? So,
but getting back to what I was saying about Kevin over there, Mr. McCarthy.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're okay. Dude, when you can't think of something or it's on the tip of your tongue, it has to come out. You know what I mean? So I get that. But the other thing that's really interesting about that guy is he's from California, meaning that's where his constituents are. So interesting that they keep voting that guy in too. I wouldn't think so.
Well, there's some sections of California that are very red.
Oh yeah. If you get away from Los Angeles,
it's like all that Sacramento, Fresno, all that area in the middle, that's all red.
Oh yeah, well yeah, dude. If you get away from LA and San Francisco, and get further inland, it's all farm country and shit, dude. You know what I mean? So there's that. What are you gonna do?
Wine country.
Yeah, true. Wine country.
Once COVID's over, right? So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to watch. As far as like, did the Democrats have a chance of winning? I mean, yeah. The one thing the Democrats have going down there that gives them a chance, because outright I would say Georgia Senate, you don't have a chance. I mean, yeah, it was close, but
they also Biden won Georgia for the first time in decades that a Democrat has won on the presidential side
since Clinton.
Yeah. So I mean,
one.
that kind of is a sign right there that we could be in for a surprise. I mean, hey, that there's two runoffs in that state anyways this year, and it's normally a red state. You know, it's tough.
It'll be interesting. It's going to be an uphill battle. If I were a voting man, I'd say that they both would be Republicans, but maybe a split. Will the Democrats win both of them? That's like hitting the trifecta, right? When you go to the horse track. I mean, it's probably not gonna happen. But they do have the wild card down there, and that's Stacey Abrams. And Georgians love them some Stacey Abrams. I gotta say, I don't disagree. She seems like a pretty normal, down to earth person that cares about her country, and the people that she's trying to represent in her state. And she's probably going to run for governor again. So they have her down there since she ran for governor and lost a couple of years ago. It was super close. She's set up a couple of nonprofits that are set up for, to fight voter suppression tactics, to make sure people are registered to vote, all this other stuff. So that's the wild card. If she can stir up a storm down there, then the Democrats can win it. But even in a divided 50-50 Senate, again, you're looking at who's the Republican senator from Maine? That's like the swing voter.
I have no idea right now, dude.
I forget her name. But so the Republican senator from Maine is a swing voter. There's a Republican senator, Murkowski from Alaska, another swing voter. So you would have.
Are you talking about Susan Collins?
Susan Collins and Murkowski are kind of back and forth. Mitt Romney sometimes can be a swing voter occasionally. So
I,
there's a few Republicans and there's a couple of Democrats that aren't afraid to vote against their party. So that's going to make it very, very interesting. And those people that do that are going to hold a lot of sway and power and influence on the Senate.
it's interesting that you mentioned Mitt Romney. I don't know. I don't buy into that guy. I just don't buy into him at all. I think he's a very phony guy. And I honestly think him standing up for what he believes in and going against his party recently was all for PR. It was all for PR. I just honestly think I think he's a big bag of assholes, if you ask me. That's just my personal opinion about the guy. I like people that go against the grain, but I think he's doing it. I think he's doing it for points, for political points. That's just me.
Well, yeah, and he's kind of a caricature of
A really rich guy.
yeah, of a politician, right? He's just like
Yeah.
he is.
He's cookie cutter, man. Yeah.
You know who another one is? I noticed the other day when I was watching Hannity.
Whoa, holy
Yeah,
shit.
I know. I know. You never know. You never know what I'm gonna do. Don't judge me.
He goes from Maddow to Hannity to watching naked firefighters play with hoses. I mean, you're all over the board.
Don't you fucking judge me, Scott. So I was watching and I was like, holy shit, this guy is like a cartoon character. This guy should be in like Batman, like Gotham as the politician.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, oh, I gotta show Scott this. So Matt Gaetz is like the ultimate caricature of a fucking politician. Look at this guy.
Yeah, no, he is.
Come on.
You know what? Those are baby forehead kissing lips. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying right there. Jesus. Yeah, you're right though.
So I just had to point that out, that this guy's like a cartoon character politician.
And you know what's funny? If you cartoonize, if that's even a word, if you like turn that picture into a cartoon, you could literally say in a comic strip that that's Mitt Romney. They both look the same in the sense that they've got the politician haircut. They've got the cheesy politician smile, and they're an aging white guy.
Oh, that smile was focus grouped.
He's like, hey, can you pick up the left side of your lip just a little? Perfect. Matt, people are really trusting you right now. And they also going to know that you're going to get rid of the gays. You're going to stop the blacks from getting crazy, because they start talking like that too. So
yeah, and I love that throughout his career, if you go look at pictures, his hair gets higher and higher and higher. And now he's rocking like a Jimmy Neutron look.
Yeah, yeah. I believe in his because he's like a subsect of like the human race. He's like a little bit different, but as your hair gets higher and higher, it's I think it's a show of dominance, right? And his species.
And credibility. Like the bigger your hair is, the more respectable and credible you are. Giorgio Tsoukalos speaks the truth.
And if anybody, the world-renowned ufologist Giorgio Tsoukalos,
the best hair on the planet. If we're going by hair, then this guy has the most trustworthy hair that one could have. So I'm just gonna pull up a quick pic of Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Along that rationale, should I take Don King more seriously again? Because he was one of the guys that started that. I mean, he was doing it when he didn't even have that much hair, nor was it a cool thing to do. Oh, there! Look at Giorgio. I'll tell you what, he tans in the same salon as Trump too. You can tell. It's pretty nice.
Like,
look at him go
in the makeup artist chair. No way. This guy's ears and neck are the same color as his face.
That's true.
He does it. I bet he's like that all over. Not a tan line on Giorgio Tsoukalos. Look at that hair, though. You can't see the top of that picture, but that hair is about 5 inches tall. That dude has like the best blowout. That he made up the blowout. That's his look.
Don't act like you're assuming that he's got no tan lines. He's also in that firefighter movie that you watch on a loop. So
that's how I know.
Oh, there is nothing more exciting than gay firefighters. Now, with that being said, Bob, I am way out of coffee. I think it's going to be ample time for us to go lubricate and get ourselves a stiff alcoholic cocktail. Are you with me, my friend?
Yeah, I'm down with that. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go do it up.
All right. You like that pep talk? All right, let's do it.
And wash it clean. And I'm like,
Cleans with their finger.
I was like, so you wash these? She's like, clean. Wash it 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 clean. I was like, clean. Wash it clean. Wash it clean. Hey there.
Hey, same time. I like that.
I know, not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. Show them. Oh, you can't really see it. There you go. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, the pink caddy. Huh?
Of course, it's delicious.
Huh? Yeah. So,
I mean, it's sweet and sour triple sec and tequila. It's almost a margarita. I mean,
well, with a little bit of cranberry in there too. Don't forget. Yeah. But it's got a gorgeous color, doesn't it? Like, now I get the name Pink Caddy. It comes out just with that nice, bright pink. Sexy. It's a sexy drink.
yeah, pretty legit.
Yeah. So this is your your virgin voyage, so to speak, huh? Didn't have one yesterday.
I did not. Did no research yesterday.
I did a little bit. I made one. It was my last cocktail of the afternoon. Funny enough, we got some pictures done, some holiday pictures yesterday at JCPenney's.
I was going to say, did you use the green screen?
Oh, no. But then we came home after that and I had some scotches and I finished off my day of drinking yesterday with just one of these guys. And then from about 5 o'clock for the rest of the evening, no alcohol.
That's different.
That is. I thought so too, but you know what's crazy is I woke up just feeling super refreshed this morning and ready to rock and roll. So there's that. So every now and again, pump the brakes, take a chill pill, drink some water, but not right now. No. I'm AM drinking.
Yeah, and I can't just keep it rolling today. I've got a midterm today. It's garbage. I had a midterm yesterday too, so I have another one today.
Tough times, buddy.
You know what else is today? There's a couple of birthdays today. I mean, first, I'd like to say happy birthday to my son, Daring.
Hey!
The big 1-4.
Ooh, exciting stuff, man. I like that. So loving that. Very cool.
There's an outrageous kitchen that's decorated in balloons and streamers and crazy birthday shit.
You know how birthday style. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I had mine. Jadzia had hers. It's his turn. His turn. We're gonna have a birthday party with no one but us. Again.
I don't even know why I laughed at that. It is not fun, but that's okay.
Of course, I still got a sheet cake though, because
yeah,
a family of 4 needs a sheet cake. I mean, how do you get by if you don't have like 30 pieces of cake?
Mm-hmm. And the other really, really important birthday today, great friend of the show, probably our number 1 fan, Mr. Mike Lentz. Happy birthday, buddy. Yes. Golf. That's a golf clap from Bobby. And just so you know, we're going to be sending you each a small, not a year supply or anything like that, but a small thing of hemorrhoid cream, just because we know you probably need it, bud. And that's our little to you. So
happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday, Daring. The 15th. And my sister's was yesterday. Raging Stiffy.
Yeah. There's a lot of important birthings going on around this time of the year.
What happened 9 months ago? Like Valentine's Day. Weird.
That's interesting. Happy birthday, everybody. Love it. Celebrate. It's a beautiful day. And we couldn't do it without you guys. All of you, all 3 of you. Very near and dear to my heart.
Well, we could, but if a Stiffy's not there to hear your show, does it exist?
Ooh, that's that whole if a tree falls in the woods kind of deal, huh? Interesting, Bob. Wow.
Yeah, do you have a show if it's just you and I sitting here recording our conversation with headphones on? Is
you know what? I think it is, because we are I wouldn't say we're delusional or anything like that, but I still think we have a show, minus everybody that listens to it.
We'd just be
Maybe.
here by ourselves, and we'd still know that Biden won the presidency. Jesus, come on, come on.
Touche, Bobby. Touche.
Too soon.
Well, I guess for some, right? Well, good,
Yeah,
good
for
drink, by
real.
the way, too. I got to give everybody the parts of this one in case they want to make it at the house. But we've got 1.5 ounces of tequila. By the way, I never thought I'd say this. I'm almost out of tequila. I'm gonna have to get more.
Right.
Not a huge tequila drinker, but I was like even fearful when I came home yesterday. I was like, just barely enough. But
It's all that devil's punch, buddy.
So 1.5 ounces of tequila, 1/2 ounce of triple sec, and then equal parts of cranberry juice and sour mix. Now, how you make this, how you're supposed to make it, I still put it in the shaker and went nuts, but you're supposed to do like the quasi shaker thing. You're supposed to literally fill a tall glass, a highball glass with ice, put the stuff in there, and that way you can top it off with equal parts to fill it up. And then you just put the lid of the shaker on the actual glass, the pint glass, and shake that. That's how they want you to do it. But I like to get in there like our good friend, I can't remember his name, our Aussie bartender that has that 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, that beautiful shake method that he has.
It's like Steve or something, right? Steve the bartender?
Yep. Bartender Steve. Yeah. Now we even got to look it up. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's Steve the bartender.
Love that guy. Shout out to Steve the bartender. Great friend of the show. Another thing, as long as we're kind of like in this announcing kind of mode right now, we got the amazing birthdays of Daring, Mike Lenz, your sister. We also now today on this show are premiering brand new Stiff Truth music by a brand new talent. It's exciting stuff.
What's this talent's name?
It is DJ Squeegee.
DJ Squeegee, huh?
Yeah. Right? Little Squeegee?
Little Squeegee.
Yeah. It's not
Love
DJ. It's Little Squeegee, but yeah, I just had to throw it in there.
Is it Little Squeegee or is it just Lil Squeegee?
I think it's Lil Squeegee.
Lil Squeegee.
Yeah. So DJ Fresh Little Squeegee. No, but in all seriousness, just Little Squeegee. Little Squeegee.
Does Lil Squeegee have any face tats? Because otherwise,
I don't know. It's interesting when you look up Little Squeege on, well, that's what I'll call him for short, Little Squeege. But if you look him up and try to find pictures of him, it's just a blacked out silhouette. We have no idea what this guy looks like. He's very mysterious. So
interesting. I'm just going to assume that there's face tats for credibility reasons.
yeah, at least a teardrop or something like that. At least
the 3 dots showing that he killed someone when he was a Crip.
Yeah.
or she.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I forgot that we had that conversation with Lil Squeegee about what the name would be because we had to finalize things. And then I remembered.
When you were drawing up the contracts?
Yeah.
Good.
Because as you know, we get 80%. It's a really fair deal. Just, I'm here to help. What can I say?
we like to promote and strangle young artists' revenue. That's what
so we just lost our new creative, Little Squeegees. I'm just getting word right now.
This just in.
Little Squeegee says, "Fuck y'all, I'm out." No, but please, I didn't mean to interrupt. You were just laying out the framework, so to speak, for that mystery topic of old lore, right? So please proceed, sir.
So we're going to take it back to an old story from Plato. That's Plato the philosopher, not Plato the clay.
Damn it. I thought this was really going to be fun, but go ahead.
So Plato wrote a couple of, books, stories back in the day about a city. Actually, it was like an island, right? A nation state, a small nation state called Atlantis that disappeared one day. And we wanted to dig into that and just kind of see what happened, where it went. Did anyone ever find it? Is it just a story that this dude made up and he never wanted to say if it was true or not because it created a lure for people buying his story? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it is interesting. And what do you call that when somebody actually creates a story to teach a lesson? Is it a parable? Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. I mean, that's what they're called in the Bible.
Okay, okay, cool. So yeah, that's what a lot of people presume, and for a lot of modern or just known history, it's been just that, right? It's been a very alluring story, and a lot of people think it was a philosophical story, and basically kind of teaching that perpetual lesson, like don't get too big for your britches, kind of things, and take things for granted, because that's essentially what happened to the Atlanteans or whatever they want to call themselves. I believe is a very prosperous, I want to say almost they call it like a lost continent too. You know what I mean? Like it was its own kind of thing, not just an island, but same difference, I guess. But I guess the idea is a very well-to-do, eclectic, very advanced ancient society that was very rich in mining precious metals and all this other stuff. They were a very strong maritime power with, just war kind of maritime power, so nobody could really fuck with them. They had all the money. They weren't necessarily, some people want to say that they were more of kind of like that. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for here, Bob? Perfect society kind of thing. Come on.
Utopian.
Yeah, like a utopian type society. Sometimes I lose shit, but I found it. But yeah, like a utopian society. That's really not the case. They weren't necessarily like this nirvanic type utopian society. They were just very rich, very powerful, and they started to feel that their shit doesn't stink and they are better than everybody else. Henceforth, the story is that Zeus needed to teach them a lesson, and literally threw one of his giant lightning bolts from the sky, threw it down, explodes basically Atlantis, and within a day and a night, one day and one night, the entire city and entire civilization sunk into the sea. That's kind of the thing right there. And the mystery is like, hey, did this really happen? Was this really a place? And where the fuck is it if it is, right? And then here's the really interesting thing. There has been, and I just got to highlight this because I think it's one of the key things about Atlantis versus other lost civilizations that have been found. There has been dozens and dozens of quote unquote lost civilizations that they've actually found proof of underwater,
Yeah.
or not underwater. But the most notable one is in I think it was 1868. I don't remember the guy's name, but there was a gentleman responsible for actually finding the lost city of Troy, right? And Troy was again thought to be the same thing as Atlantis and lore. Is it's just that it was a make-believe folklore fictitious city that was created to teach these lessons about how they would fight with the Greeks and this and that, and they, all kinds of stuff. Helen of Troy, another one too, right? But that was kind of said, when this was found, it was like, holy shit, this was a writing in ancient Greek history, philosophy, whatever you want to call it. Geez. Mythology, right? But at the same time, it was proven to be very, very real, and that kind of reopened the allure and the what ifs. And hey, if this is real and Troy is real, let's get back to this Atlantis kind of thing, right? So that was the other thing that kind of reignited it. I want to say 1800s, there was so many people that wanted to travel, find it. You've gone through the Bahamas, some places in South America. You got the Eye of the Sahara, which is in the western part of Africa, that is maybe fabled as being the place where Atlantis came from. The Mediterranean Sea, obviously, even in the North Sea, as a part of like Ireland, Scotland, that area. There's another kind of theory that it was up there. But the real big thing is like, why does this keep going? Who gives a fuck about Atlantis and it being real? The biggest thing here is going back to Plato. Plato also made a lot of other, we can call them outrageous, but very, very crazy at the time claims about where we came from, about our existence. He also took an ancient psychedelic that sounds very, very similar to DMT, and the connecting of like other dimension and otherworldly kind of things and how that's real, and even aliens, right? So he held all these other claims. So basically, the thing is, if they can prove that what Plato is saying about Atlantis is based in fact, then that opens up the door for all these other things that he said that would be forced to be taken a hell of a lot more seriously. and could literally change the dynamic about how we think of our existence.
Yeah,
So
and just so that in case anyone doesn't know or hasn't Googled it or whatever, Plato lived about 600 years before the New Testament was written, something like that, 350 BC, something like that.
320
So,
BC, 323 BC is when he supposedly came out with this story initially.
so, so predates modern Christianity. So no Jeebus yet. The Jesus hadn't been born yet. So there wasn't a whole lot of incentive for him to preach heresy,
Yeah.
right? Not in
No.
Old Testament times, man.
No.
Right.
But there is always that kind of, is he doing this again? Is this a philosophical idea where he's trying to teach a lesson? Or is it a combination? Is it based off of real events from ancient history? Because apparently this is not his story. This story was passed down to him, and I believe it originated by an ancient Egyptian priest that then passed it down to him. And it said, and there's a discrepancy here. It said that the event and this happening to Atlantis happened 9,000 years before Plato's time. Now, there's some debate there because the translation between 9,000 and 900 and basically adding on an extra zero is a little bit murky. So they're kind of thinking maybe it was 900 years, not 9,000 years, which actually puts Atlantis right in the wheelhouse of one of the biggest volcanic eruption in the Mediterranean for 10,000 years, which could be the fabled area. So, there's
Santorini.
Yeah, Santorini. And what a cool sounding name, right? I just like it.
I bet it tastes good. Sounds like a stiff drink that we need to have.
And we're just jumping around everywhere here, but can you give us a little background, Bob, on what where Santorini is, why they think this is an area that is pretty key for the spot of maybe where Atlantis was?
So it was southwest of Greece, I think.
It's one of the
southernmost member of the Cyclades group of islands, about 73 kilometers wide or whatever. Well, the interesting thing about Santorini is a Mediterranean island not far from Greece.
Yeah, it's one of the Greek Isles, basically.
And so Santorini has a circular shape, right? And then there's a couple of different circular shaping islands, kind of almost like a target. Like if you imagine like a bullseye and the rings around a bullseye,
like the one tattooed right over your ass, right?
Oh, it's right above my tailbone.
Okay. Yes. Sorry. Hey, COVID, bro. It's been a while since I've seen it. Things are getting murky. Go ahead.
Right. And then I have a pair of glasses that have them on there. But anyway, so Santorini was a Greek island over there, and it's a kind of oval shape, circular shape, and there's islands that go, and the Santorini itself was in the very center of all of these islands. So, well, I mean, it still is. It's just that the civilization that they're and very rich, live very decadent lifestyles. I don't think they're necessarily very warmongering people. But
they did have the capacity to be a maritime front. You know what I mean? Just because of where they were located, what they did. And the other thing about, again, Atlantis as kind of, I guess, a property of Atlantis and the people there is that they were heavy into being able to trade with people because of that too. So they were positioned perfectly for it, right? Essentially.
Yeah, and this so it was an island, so naturally there's a volcanic chute that formed that island. That's how geology goes. And this volcano just erupted. One of the most massive eruptions in known recorded human history.
And just to give people some perspective from what I heard too, the guy that was a volcanologist, volcanist, whatever it is, the German guy that I watched in a documentary here was saying that the power from this volcanic eruption was like 10 atomic bombs going off every 5 to 10 seconds for a full day and night.
Yeah, it was insane. So like it left a crater that was just ridiculous. It just demolished this island. They finally no one really knew it, but in the mid 20th century, a Greek anthropologist was actually found 300 souls and found this town on this island, and even still they're still digging it up to this day. They're estimating that they have maybe a third of it dug up.
Mm-hmm.
Advanced civilization, awesome pottery, and this is like 3,500 years ago. I mean
Mm-hmm.
that this civilization existed. They had writing, they had refined pottery, they had it going on. They had structures. They're rebuilding some of them and replacing the wood that was there, and then they put this like huge. They built like a structure over it to
Mm-hmm.
protect it from the elements while they dig, and it's just this ridiculous dig site that they found. But and the time frame around when it all happened really does coincide with about 1,000 years or so before Plato wrote his books, which would be right around that 900 mark. Now the thing is that it's disputed. Well, that was a volcano. Plato didn't mention anything about a volcano.
Yeah,
He
and
said,
he didn't mention anything about the landscape because he was very descriptive about how it looked, right?
right.
But I think you're getting there. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about the volcano or a volcano happening. But again, it was a story. He might have
Mm-hmm.
needed better effect, right? So he wrote it in a way that there was an earthquake, that there was tsunamis, which earthquake and tsunamis on islands, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he wrote it about those disasters, right? He didn't ever mention a volcano. So I mean, it's feasible that he had some artistic liberties taken when he was writing this story for effect and for commonality. People don't know volcanoes erupting and destroying islands so much, especially when the average age is like 30 years old, but they definitely know earthquakes, especially in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they can relate to earthquakes. They can relate to a tsunami. They hear them. They know. They've heard tales of them or whatever. But whereas a volcano is a little bit less known, because if you're close enough to know about it, you're dead in those
This is,
days.
this is true. And here's the other thing. It even happens in modern time. If we didn't have aerial and satellite photographs and things like that, with a blast from a volcano this massive and this cataclysmic, which it was apparently the most cataclysmic thing to happen in 10,000 years in the Mediterranean area in general, right? The other thing too is like he never mentioned a volcano, maybe because it wasn't active at the time he was writing the story. It just looked like a fucking mountaintop, whatever, right? The other thing is you wouldn't really know it was a volcanic eruption after it happened if you were near enough by, not to get killed, but to be able to view it, because literally all you would see is a ridiculous blackening of the sky, a bunch of soot, a bunch of pumice. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to see where it originated from. That was another argument too, where it's like, oh, I never mentioned a volcano. I was like, yeah, you wouldn't know what the fuck a volcano blast is, not only in those times, but from a viewing standpoint, right? From a point of view standpoint, you'd be like, wow, look, right in front of us is completely blackened and red. What is that? You have no
Right,
fucking
just like a 15-mile high wall of ash and soot and cloud and darkness, right? And then
mm-hmm.
when it all clears, everything's just gone,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
a month or two later, when you go back, there's nothing left, and
And
so at those times of knowledge, you might just assume, where did it go? Well, the ocean's the only place it could have gone. It didn't ascend into the heavens, right?
sure. And to give the story more credibility, when, like you just said, amazing disturbance, very, very troubling, very ominous looking sky. Everything is black. You can't see in front of you, no vision. Then it disappears. Everything's gone. Now, to an ancient person, wouldn't that seem very feasible that that was from the hand of Zeus, the angry hand of Zeus that literally just struck down on top of them? And then when the smoke clears, everything is disintegrated and gone. Gone. That does seem like that could be a godly thing to happen. And you probably could have no other explanation for it at that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, QAnon would have had a field day if they were back
Mm,
then.
this is very true.
So yeah, it's very feasible, right? This is the most feasible explanation of where Atlantis went. It was very close. It was within, even not the best ship's distance to get there from Greece. It was outside of the pillars of Hercules, right? It was outside of the Mediterranean Sea and in the ocean. So you did have to leave that, just like the story says. But it doesn't say like how many days and nights travel outside of that. It doesn't say how far it is out in the sea. Basically, Plato just says that it's out in the sea. Like it's out in the ocean. It's past the land.
And that kind of leaves the discrepancy of, what really is the pillars of Hercules, right? Because a lot of people think it's the small narrow gap. I can't remember what it's called, but the small gap.
It's like the Isle of Gibraltar or something
Yeah,
like that.
Gibraltar. Yeah, like something of Isle of Gibraltar, something like that. But it's basically the small gap where there is no landmass in between the southernmost tip of Europe and the northern tip of North Africa. Right, there's a very small section right there. So some people say that the Mediterranean thing is not real because to go past the Pillars of Hercules, if that's the Pillars of Hercules, would to be literally to the opening up of the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean outside of the Mediterranean, which puts the Canary Islands, right? The that area outside of Spain and Portugal and those island groups right there, another area that is also in the conversation that maybe this could be the remains, so to speak, of Atlantis. So there's a couple more, but I would say that one has the most, I guess the most weight to it would definitely be Santorini.
Okay, so my bad. So Santorini is in the Mediterranean. I'm looking at the map now.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Canary Islands
Yeah.
theory that it's outside of the Gibraltar
Right,
Pass.
right. And here's the other thing too. If like it is said by Plato in his writing that the landscape and the color of Atlantis was white, red, and black. Now, again, I'm not a volcano expert, but something that was explained to me is the aftermath of volcanic activity will leave that coloring on the landscape because of lava, pumice and all this kind of stuff that kind of forms around here. So, and that's in the Canary Islands, and there's a couple other places where it had that same kind of coloration. I think the Eye of the Sahara. Did you learn about that? I never knew that fucking thing was there.
No.
This Eye of the Sahara thing. It's basically Western Africa, and it's all dry land. It's kind of the western part of the Sahara Desert. And there's literally a formation that makes 3 huge circles. Because again, Atlantis is supposed to be circular, like almost like a perfect circle. And it's got different kinds of coloring on each layer as you go out that is very similar again to what Plato outlined in his writings. So it's interesting stuff.
Very interesting guy, Plato. And also another interesting thing is Plato and Aristotle, right? Peas in a pod, right? Aristotle learned all of his viewpoints and all of his teachings and all of his philosophies from Plato. Aristotle said that Plato didn't really talk about Atlantis with him very much. And it wasn't like a topic of discussion throughout their whole life together. So that's interesting that whatever it is, he purposefully like really kept this shit a mystery, as the way a good author would, right? So
yeah. And he claimed, though, in his writings numerous times that this is a true story. You know what I mean? He never faltered there. It was always this. No, this really happened. I swear to God. So there's that. But I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, we won't beat this up too much, but there's even another school of thought that thinks there's a large landmass called, is it Dogger? Yeah, Doggerland. And this is up in the North Sea. So you look at where modern day United Kingdom, Ireland, Scotland, and then Norway are. Apparently, 5,000 years ago or whatever, there was a large landmass that kind of continued the UK almost all the way to Norway, and it's called Doggerland, which is now completely underwater. And this is another area too that could be a location of the famed and infamous Atlantis. But I don't know. Honestly, dude, the weather seems really fucking shitty up there. So to have this kind of utopian type society and like butt ass cold all the time, that one kind of doesn't have the most weight for me. Probably the weakest out of all of them, if you ask me. That's just me though. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I never taken the time to really like seriously look into Atlantis. I just always thought, is a Plato story.
Lost City. That sounds cool.
Yeah, Lost City is sunken city somewhere, and then I'm just like, well, the ice caps have melted a lot over the last 10,000 years or whatever. Sea levels rose. I'm sure there's a bunch of lost cities, and then, like you've mentioned before, they found a bunch. I mean, they found the ruins under the Bahamas. They found the ruins in South America, the ones with a huge like laser cut edges of buildings and shit like that they can't really explain.
Look, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it's aliens.
I was going to say Giorgio can explain it. He has the hair. And you'll believe him because
you have to take him seriously. That's proof right here. And the
and
hairline.
Again, anyone with hair like that has like no reason to lie to you.
Sure. I mean, there's even a school of thought that say because of the changes in ice ages and other things like that, that Atlantis could have easily been a chunk of Antarctica. You know what I mean? And
that was a theory, yeah.
There is a school of thought too, and it makes sense with the way things have changed over time, which is climate change in general over the eons, that there was a lot of Antarctica that could have been very habitable in the sense that it could have been very, very mild, maybe even pleasant weather for hundreds of years. You have no idea. And honestly, that one to me was really far-fetched because it almost threw off where the polar ice caps were, and kind of how that went. It's like, okay, so if this actually was warm, that it would actually move the poles to Hawaii. And I couldn't remember the other. So I was like, okay, that's got me scratching my head a little bit here. But anyways, it is very interesting stuff, man. I think one of the things that I took away the most about this is this will never end, right? The search for Atlantis. And I mentioned one of the reasons why is because, again, if Atlantis is proven to be real, that gives so much more credibility to all these very, very dynamic, insightful things that Plato prophesized about, just, again, our existence and where we are in the world and who's with us in the cosmos. And that's one reason. And the other reason is this: you got a lot of selfishly prideful reason. If you are to be the person that discovers Atlantis, that literally, hands down, would be the most famous, impactful, and important anthropological discovery of all time.
So on a planet that's been discovered.
Yeah.
Right. The funny thing about Atlantis, though, is it's in the only place that hasn't really been explored. And that's the ocean, right?
Yeah. And we can't really explore some places, the oceans. I was even looking about, well, why don't they just go down there in the Canary Islands? Why don't they just go down here? Sometimes the current and everything like that is so dramatic and so dangerous that they can't do the same kind of exploratory deep sea diving as they can in calm waters. Right. So there's some hindrance, so to speak, from really, really being able to comb through as much of these areas as they want to. And I don't know if you saw it, but the Greek government won't even give people the right to do excavations in that area around Santeria. They just won't do it. So that just might be for the integrity of history or whatever, landmarks. I'm not sure where they're coming from, but so this is never going to end. But again, it would be the most important kind of find in history. And it would validate Pluto and a lot of things that I think we already think.
Pluto. Oh, the pink Cadillac strikes.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? Pluto. Yeah. It would validate Pluto as being a real planet again. No, but no, it would validate a lot of things that I think now are probably more widely accepted, but back before the common era or what have you, if people were saying that there were alien possibilities out there, that we were all connected to one thing, all things are connected in nature. These are all things that Plato prophesized and said he understood and was come to believe that, hey, we're still kind of at the tipping point right now of whether or not those things can be given a lot of credibility.
Yeah, it didn't jive very well with the Christian community. It didn't age well.
No, it did not age well. No. That's okay. It's a fun story.
It was a fun topic. Makes me want to look into it more. Keep eyes on it, because there's still like thousands of people currently out in the world looking and digging for this shit. I mean, they'll never stop.
There's a Greek anthropologist who is based out of Sydney right now. He's a 48-year-old guy. Well, the doc that I watch, he might be a little bit older now. I feel so bad for this guy because he's the guy that literally says it's right there. It's right there, about 10 kilometers off the coast of Santorini, right? It's right there. And the Greek government will not give the guy permission to do any kind of excavating there. And he's dumped his entire life savings and all his, everything, physically, mentally, financially, emotionally, into finding Atlantis. And it's a brick wall just because, I mean, maybe it's not real. I don't know, but there's that too. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Fake things tend to lead you to a brick wall. But
Trump,
I don't know.
Trump won the election.
That's true. It was a landslide victory. It was rigged and stolen. So anyway, I think we've talked enough about that.
Well, I'll just tell you one thing real quick. Where I think it is, I don't think they found it yet, and I think the Garden of Eden and Atlantis are one and the same. Boom.
Maybe time wise, they're not all that different.
No, right?
Well, because the whole Christianity only began like 4,000 years ago or something like that, right? So I mean, the timeline kind of lines up with that too. So those two books could have been based off of the same thing.
Yeah, true.
Meaning the Bible
and Plato.
What was it called? Critias, Timaeus, both of them.
I'm not quite sure, but
I think they're in both of those stories.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, there's a lot of good stuff on this too, but like you had said, what this kind of does for me is it kind of opens the door and reignites my interest in ancient things. You know what I mean? I was kind of flipping around when I was on YouTube, just going down the rabbit hole looking for stuff on this, and there's all kinds of stuff about ancient Egyptian shit that really turns my crank too. I'm a big fan of the ancient world. I think there's a lot of allure, there's a lot of mystique about it, and I think it'd be really cool to find out there was these ancient, super advanced civilizations that maybe even have technology or ideas that rival where we're out right now, but just in different aspects. Maybe not with cell phones and stuff like that, but other kind of engineering marvels.
Maybe we'll look into some ancient Egyptian shit soon. That sounds fun to dig into.
Yeah,
I've always had a little bit of a boner for ancient Egypt.
Yeah, well,
when I was like 11, I went to see Ramses II. So they were trotting this dead guy around the U.S. at that point, visiting all kinds of museums of natural history. And then the Ramses exhibit came to Dallas, right? And so my whole class took a field trip or whatever, and we all went to look at, King Ramses II. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I hope, like, for some reason, like a few thousand years after I die, someone doesn't trot me around like a fucking trophy. But anyway, it was cool to see.
Well, for some odd reason, I'm still around. That'll be me. I'll put you as a hood ornament on my pink caddy, right? And I'll drive you around town honking my little clown horn. Be like, everybody, come look at ancient Bob West. Check him out. It's cool. It's got a petrified penis.
my tramp stamp won't look good at all by then.
No. It'll look like Joe Biden's ball sack, and that's it doesn't age well. Is all I can say.
No.
He was in that. He was in that movie too.
You just have to start rolling up the pants leg because it's easier access. So that was fun. Atlantis is super fun. We'll hopefully we piqued your interest in it and you can dig into it too. It's always fun to dig into stuff that no one can prove, right, Q? But
nudge, wink, wink, right, Q?
But there's there are other fun things that we looked up recently. That's kind of a fun way to end the show.
Yeah, I thought so.
And that's like here in America, we're always targeted and manipulated by the media, and it's been done forever. But before cable news did it, advertising agencies had been doing it for a good 100 years. And so we wanted to go about what are the fun advertisements that are most memorable and most impressionable, and kind of what's our favorite ads over the years that have been amazing. And there's so many that are good. And as I'm like looking at all these lists, there's some good ones. What are some of your favorite ones?
Well, if you can see my background, for some reason, this is probably one of my favorite. But if anybody remembers, what is it? It's the late 90s, I believe it was. Yeah, mid to late 90s when Budweiser had the "What's Up, guys." So literally the premise of those commercials is so ridiculous, but it gives you a damn chuckle. Anybody that wasn't there, if we need to rewind and go back in history a little bit, this is literally where they'd start the commercial. There's a guy like sitting on his couch and he's like, "Hey, yo, let's see what Thomas is doing." And call him up. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He's like, chilling, drinking a bud, and then they call up another guy, and then everybody, what are they doing? Like a 5-6 way call by the end of the commercial. They're just saying, "What's up?" to each other and just loving life. And it just kind of kicks them all into this huge, immense happiness and just And again, it's all about Budweiser beer, but that was a really fun one for me just because of how that kind of continued on in pop culture. Do you remember on Scary Movie when they did a
Oh
little,
yeah, yeah,
he's like,
I
what are you
do.
doing? He's like, just chilling, killing,
Killing.
it's,
Yeah.
that was one of my favorites right there, man. I'm just going to go ahead and just knock that one out since it is my background. What about you?
Um, yeah, there's that's a really good one. I think if you want to go old school, there's the Spuds McKenzie's commercials were always super good because that dog would be like surfing and like skateboarding, and then this
Can I
dog
say
had all the
this?
chicks,
Already, Budweiser, 2 for 2. Good job, Budweiser, on your ad campaigns. You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
And then you can switch it up to Miller Lite. Uh, Great taste, less filling. Remember those
Ooh,
commercials?
I do. And in fact, they still trickle that in here and there. I think they do. Yeah.
Those are good ones. I mean, honestly, the Be Like Mike commercials. I mean, all the Michael Jordan commercials are kind of always ring true to me, but I was probably at the most impressionable age, around the age my son is, when you got, Gatorade, McDonald's, and Nike all doing the Michael Jordan commercials. So, and remember the Michael Jordan commercials, Larry Bird playing horse
Oh, see, those were great. Yeah. Off the backboard, off the dome, blah, 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 this and that, nothing but net.
around the moon, off of
Yeah.
Mars, right? It's
And
nothing
at
but
that,
net.
that was such a great moment too, because those guys were both hyper competitors and going against each other all the time for at least a little while, the late 80s, early 90s, right? Bulls and Celtics too. Yeah, that was a good one. I think that gave everybody a nice little warm, fuzzy feeling in that era. So damn good one. Good call, Bob.
Yeah, I think those are some of my favorites. I mean, the Where's the Beef is memorable, but I was really, really young when those were coming out. I was like 4 years old, so I can't really speak on that too much. It's more of nostalgia when they brought them back not too
Mhm.
long. I think in the early '90s they brought back some of the Where's the Beef commercials for Wendy's, but
Mhm. That is a good one. That's another real good one. Well, I'll tell you, one that tell you one that I like that's not on any of the lists, but I just think it was a great ad campaign. Do you remember when Sega Genesis came out and they were battling with Nintendo? So they had these ads, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And they like keep like
yeah,
toggling back and forth to like some really shitty 4-bit, 8-bit graphics or whatever on regular Nintendo. And then they jump to fucking Sega Genesis. And it's like the whole commercial was just like Nintendo sucks, Genesis is cool. But they had that was a pretty cool little ad campaign too. And apparently what it did, and this is again, I don't know why I was doing research on the kind of the start in the progression of video games in American society, but I was. And that literally tipped the scale because it made Genesis cool for teenagers, whereas Nintendo was marketed to little kids. So they kind of, instead of trying to take over Nintendo's demographics, they grabbed another stronger one. Interesting. Good stuff.
yeah, and even to this day, Nintendo still caters to like the 10-year-old.
Oh, dude, even calling something the Wii, you know what I mean? That's very, very kindergarten sounding. I'll just say that right now. So, yeah, you're right there, bud. What else you got, man? Because I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, man, but the most interesting man in the world, Dos Equis,
That's
they did a
that's
good job.
still awesome ads. It's kind of bummed when that guy retired.
Yeah, well, he was the most interesting man that also um, needed to probably sit down with Biden and Trump and drink some soup with a nice blanket. You know what I mean? So he's getting old. That's what I'm trying to say.
An electric blanket because your toes get cold.
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%. Oh man, yeah, those are some good ones. I mean, I'm starting to think some of the really good ones. Oh, the Yoketo Taco Bell dog. Hey,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Like the chalupa dog.
yeah. And you know what? Another one too. God damn, I'm thinking about it. Budweiser's really good. Do you remember Bud Ice? I know everybody's like, "What the fuck is Bud Ice?" But the little penguin that was all doobie doobie doo.
I do. And another Budweiser one, the frogs,
Oh
the
my
Budweiser frogs.
Budweiser. I mean, so basic, but Budweiser 4 for 4 right now, and I'm sure they got more in their wheelhouse, but that's pretty goddamn impressive, dude, if you ask me. What about this? What about the polar bears for
The
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola polar bears, and yeah, just their whole Christmas snow polar bear Santa shtick has been going on strong for like 70 years or something. Like Coca-Cola half owns Santa Claus.
Did you say shtick?
Shtick. Yeah.
Ah, he's a Jew in training. I like that.
You're welcome. If there's anything you take away is that Atlantis could be real, and remember that your shtick can be used to sell Budweiser or
I
Coca-Cola.
forgot it. I really forgot about the frogs, man. I can't believe I forgot about
Ooh,
them.
how about the Pepsi oh, I forget their slogan with the Michael Jackson ads in the early 90s.
Oh, is it a choice of a new generation kind of thing
Yes,
or
that's
whatever?
it.
Yeah,
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation, is like Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, when he was still black.
Yeah. Oh, well, if we're gonna get on Pepsi's tip for a minute, remember the Ray Charles ads with him in the 80s all the time? Ray Charles was always doing Pepsi ads too. And it's just him playing the grand piano, and then I can't remember if it was the same tagline, but he was pretty heavy.
I don't know.
into
I
that
can
thing.
tell you this: when I was a young adolescent, and I thought Pepsi was cooler than Coke. I thought Coke was for like, I thought Coke was for like the fogies, right? I thought Coke was for like the old people, and that Pepsi was like what we should drink.
Well, they were a little bit more daring, a little bit more ballsy. I mean, who else would come up with a failed clear cola too? So they had Crystal Pepsi in their wheelhouse at that time when we were young and impressionable. But you're absolutely right. They did seem to market to a cooler type atmosphere, a cooler type aftermath of having your cola beverage.
They always have. I mean, even recently, just a few Super Bowls ago, they're running ads with Beyonce was their big person, right? I mean, Pepsi's always had the more hip people, and they've paid mad money for it too.
Yeah, this is true, bro. There's another big one there. I just got to say it. I think this is probably one of the longest running ad campaigns of all time, but just do it. Good old Nike.
Yeah, just do it. It's probably one of the most successful ad campaigns. And how about the Got Milk?
Ooh, wow, yeah. And there's a combination. Milk had a good running for a while. They had the Got Milk. They still do the Got Milk when they show people with the milk mustache on magazines and stuff like that. But then you got the whole like milk does a body good, which kind of is like
Pass it on.
Yeah. It's like the precursor to all this. Do you remember those commercials in the early 90s, late 80s too, where they'd be like, yeah, so anyways, it'd be like this little kid just drinking milk, and then like it go to the next frame and he's like, like a few years older, and then a few years older, and until he's like this huge buff like linebacker or something.
Right,
like
like
that.
it's like a college football like scholarship award person.
Literally. How dishonest is that? How misleading is that? I was like, drink this shit that's not even supposed to go in the human body, and you will be an NFL linebacker.
Right. We've packed it full of so much shit. It's almost like steroids.
Tyson chicken, little kids have big tits now, whatever, right? So I guess that makes sense. Just going out on the limb there.
No. Tyson Chicken says no antibiotics ever for the last year.
Well, it's just about as good as the marketing campaign. And I still laugh that they go by this now still, but hey, try out McDonald's chicken nuggets now with all white meat. It's like, what the fuck was it for 30 years? Like, come on, dude. Oh, Jesus.
What's the cigarette company in Idiocracy where it's like, if you don't like, Mortley's or whatever, fuck you.
Yeah.
The cigarette's #1 doctor recommended cigarette.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Well, there's some really good ones, man. I can't think. Another one that I like too, I think, is it Progressive? Like that even a caveman can do it, those commercials.
The caveman commercials and the squirrel commercials.
Yeah. Oh, the
squirrels are causing havoc.
The diabolical squirrels that would try to wreck cars off the road and kill a family of 4. Yeah, real fucking funny.
What about now? Do you have any commercials now that just make you chuckle? I mean, I think Progressive's kind of cornering the market on the funny commercials right now. But other than Progressive,
I do. Allstate, Mayhem, the guy that always plays Mayhem.
Okay.
Those are super, super funny, and they always give me a good chuckle. Like he's like, "Hey, I'm your mother-in-law or whatever," and he's all like putting on makeup in the side of the, and in the driver's seat. Tina Fey's in the driver's seat or whatever. But yeah, those are classic, man, because he always plays like some animal or something else, and has that same kind of like really dry sense of humor too. That might be my favorite right now is the Mayhem commercials. But honestly, I don't watch a lot of fucking like commercials anymore because I don't watch a shitload of TV. So there's that. I don't know about you, man.
Yeah, I just can't think of like ones that are huge other than, you know, some of the Allstate ones are funny. They're always insurance. Why are the insurance ones the funniest ones?
Because insurance is not funny and it's
Or
not sexy. You know what I mean?
there's nothing funny about insurance.
No, it's like, why do you need insurance? Because you might get hurt or die, and then you need to take care of other people. You're like, oh, that's not very fun. Oh yeah, well, check out this funny caveman. You're like, hey, look at Flo over here. You know what I mean? She's funny. Hey, by the way, Flo is kind of funny, but I think they're pumping it dry well there now with Flo. You know what I mean? They need to.
Well, that's why they started using Jamie more.
Yeah, they need to go ahead and flush that shit through the toilet. Let's just get a cleanse going on there. We need to hit the reset button on that one because it's getting old.
Oh, that's true. I just thought of the Old Spice commercials are pretty good too.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I will admit there's some funny ones in there, and I did see those on a couple of the lists. But I thought in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather listen to some Budweiser commercials. Budweiser's done a great job. They need to step up their game. There's nothing funny about Clydesdale. So when they have that really impressive commercial, they do like every Super Bowl with like a bunch of fucking gigantic horses. Awesome, dude. Let's get the frogs back in there. In fact, they should have like a reunion party, very similar to like doing like the Friends reunion or Seinfeld or something like that, and literally have a commercial with the What's Up guys, Spuds McKenzie, the frogs, the little penguin from the Doobie Doobie Doo fucking Bud Ice stuff, all in a really funny dialogue in one commercial. That to me, I would literally go buy a Budweiser 6-pack, hands down. I shit you not.
I would just laugh at the commercials. I don't think I'd go that far.
I would literally go and drink piss. I would do it. I would do it.
If they wanted me to do a commercial for them, I would do it all day. I would drink Budweiser all day.
Bob, you know what I love about you are an entrepreneur, you're an enterpriser, you're always thinking ahead. I mean, you're smiling now at the camera like Budweiser is watching, gave a little wink. I see what you're up to there. I like you.
I love Budweiser. It's refreshing and crisp and clean. Delicious.
I brushed my teeth with the shit. You know what I mean?
If you're having trouble pissing, you just drink a bunch of Budweiser, flushes you right out.
Oh, dude, 100%. Talk about, and especially if you're like, oh my God, I've been smoking some weed, man. I'm getting a random drug test at work. Just drink a case of Budweiser. You're gonna piss clean. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's the right PSA to be sending.
I guess we're really known for our PSAs though, huh?
Well, I think that's about it for the show. I had fun today. There's some good topics.
Bob, that's all that matters. You know what I mean?
Is that we have fun. Because if we have fun, you'll have fun. And that's what it's all about.
This is trickle down comedy. Okay, guys, it works. It's a real thing.
That's right. We start with the fun at the top. And then we distribute the fun throughout. So that everybody gets some fun.
Sometimes there's a little bit of fun that leaks out of my butthole. I don't know. I can't help it. It's been a thing now for the past couple of years, but at least it still gets to your mouth. You know what I mean? So there's that.
That's why you got to keep it clean with a finger all the way up it.
Cleans with their finger. Seriously. I've never done that. He was like, hey, you know what? Well, look at that nasty spill of like cranberry juice and shit on the counter. Let me just lick my finger and fucking wipe it up. Who does that shit, Cardi B? Come on now.
Use a damn wash rag already.
Or the quicker picker upper. You know what I mean? It's quilted, for crying out loud. Let's go.
Or the Mr. Clean magic erasers. I mean, that's how it's done right there. Well, do you have any words for the Stiffies as we show?
I think more than anything, guys, thanks for joining us again. I had a blast. Don't forget to get out there and check us out. Again, we've been getting a lot more traction on the YouTube channel, which is fun. So you can see us live, but we still got all this stuff happening on the podcast platforms. And other than that, though, I'm pretty much, I don't want to be too repetitive here. You guys know what to do. Bob, just take us away and let's move on.
Like and subscribe, tell your friends, all of that. With all the lockdowns happening, try to limit your travel and use Instacart. Other than that, this was fun. We'll see you guys next week. I had a blast. I love you, Stiffies. And yeah, that's it. See you guys next week.
Trickle down humor. Fade out.
See ya. Clean.